And we're joined in studio now, 1490 WGCH Greenwich, WGCH.com, with the Democratic nominee for the governor's position of the great state of Connecticut and a Greenwich resident himself, Ned Lamont. And I'm going to go back first. We both came here about 35 years ago, both got married, kids, raised them. At that time, Connecticut was in the top 3, quality of life, state of the finances, business friendliness. We're now in the bottom 3. In all of those, that's obviously your challenge. Slowest GDP rate during that quarter century. Can you make Connecticut great again?
Hey, Jim, it's great to see you again and be back on WGCH. When I was a selectman here in town many years ago, we did this every week. When Andy and I moved here, when you moved here, we thought we'd hit the jackpot here in Connecticut, right? Amazing schools, great quality of life, beautiful shoreline, great fields, up-and-coming cities, and we've let that slip. And that's the failure of the political class going back 30, 40 years. They failed to invest in education, they failed to invest in transportation, and they have no idea how to get us an honestly balanced budget. And when GE left, we sat down with the head of GE, got the politicians together. So what can you learn from this? That's just what they said. You're not training the people for the next generation of jobs. Transportation system is a mess. We can't get our folks to the Fairfield campus. And by the way, we're facing a fiscal cliff, and you don't know what to do about it. So that's when I said, all right, we got to come in and turn this thing around, and I'm the guy to do it.
I'm going to go back to your start in Greenwich. The Board of Selectmen, which you were on, and the Finance Board, the RTM, are all rather nonpartisan, which obviously is a huge difference to the polarized nature of today. You also have a business background. How does that nonpartisan start in your life inform who you are now?
Totally. I learned a lot. I got on very well with our first selectman, John Margonaut. I wish him well. We worked together collaboratively on big issues. I spent 35 years of my life, as you know, building telecommunications systems. And I didn't know who was a Republican. I didn't know who was a Democrat. And I didn't give a hoot. We were a team. We were working together. And on budget, on time, something Hartford could learn. And so I think that's sort of the mentality I want to bring up to Hartford. Look, I'm ready to reach out to the Republican leaders as well as the Democratic leaders. Reach out to business. I am a business guy, and sit down with respect and labor. I've got to get people working together.
The Republican candidate, Bob Stefanowski, proposing to eliminate the state income tax and the corporate business tax, that combined is about $12 billion out of $20 billion budget, 55%. Do you believe there's enough specificity? Do you believe where's the beef has been exposed there? What are your thoughts?
He's making it up. He is just making it up. Every single Republican candidate in the primary said he's making it up. It's fantasy land. It's a false promise. And I've spent a lot of time with Bob just in debates and things, and I have no idea how he plans to do it, and he has no idea how he plans to do it. And that's a scary thing because we have to have a budget on the table within 90 days. And we are facing a $2.5 billion deficit. And I'm the one guy in this race that said we're going to have to deal with the structural deficit, which is health care, which is pension, in order to correct this thing. And I've got a year to do that with the wind to our back. After that was Malloy's big failure. He came into office, and he didn't solve the problem, and he paid a price for it for the next 7 years. I'm going to solve this problem. I have no idea how Bob wants to do it. Neither does he.
Okay, so what you mentioned, we do have $100 billion of unfunded pension and health care liability, which for a small state is unfathomable. We are number 2 in the nation in per capita debt among states. We have the highest paid workforce, best benefits. And so obviously you need a degree of specificity to take this on, too, and you're a Democrat in a blue state, a lot of union support. Are you intimidated by this? Do you have a detailed plan? Are you going to get it done?
I think I'm the only guy that can get it done. I work with respect with labor, and I have support of labor, and I don't blame labor. Everybody else demonizes them. They demonize that 70-year-old teacher who worked 35 years for this state. Now she's retired. The only thing she has to live on is her pension. Doesn't even have Social Security, Jim. All they have is her pension, and it's not her fault that governors going back 40 years didn't put a dime in there. And I can sit around playing the blame game, and who does that help? So what do we do, day one? I'm going to put assets on the asset side into the teachers fund and into the state employee fund, show a good faith effort that we're doing our best for not just you, but the next generation of state employees and teachers. And I've got to bring down the rate of increase on the liability side. Right now, liabilities are going up faster than the assets. And I've been pretty tough. I've said, look, when it comes to double dipping, when it comes to a voluntary overtime, when it comes to the legislators putting mileage into their pension, these things are going to be on the table. We're going to make a difference. All right.
Now, we have a tale of two cities in this state, especially Fairfield County, very wealthy, and Bridgeport, Waterbury, Hartford, in rather dire condition. We can't really be a great state, right, unless we revitalize our cities. And is that on your agenda?
I think you said that exactly right. We cannot be a great state unless we bring back our cities. Again, you want to keep young people here. You want a vibrant economy. You want to have businesses following where the smart people are. People get educated in this state, and then they leave. And it's not for lack of great jobs. I mean, there's thousands of jobs we're having a hard time filling in advanced manufacturing and the trades. But part of that is bringing our cities back to life. And Bob Stefanowski's plan, I know it's appealing to eliminate the income tax, but you know what that would mean? That would mean enormous increases in the property tax in places like Bridgeport, New Haven, and Hartford. That would mean cuts to education, dramatic cuts, which is the exact wrong way if you believe you need vibrant cities to keep our young people here, attract young people in the jobs that follow.
All right, we'll do a few brief policy kind of issues. Tell us where you are on electronic tolls.
I think that our roads and bridges are in terrible disrepair. As we know here in Fairfield County, it takes 10 minutes longer to take the train into Grand Central in part because we have to slow up over those really old bridges. And we need hundreds of millions of dollars to fix that and also have more regular and frequent and faster rail service. And, Stefanowski says we can borrow more to do that. That's the exact thing that got us into this mess over the last 30 years. So you're right. I have been very specific and very clear. We'll put electronic tolling on the big tractor-trailer trucks coming in and out of the state, just like Gina Raimondo in Rhode Island is doing right now. That would represent $250 million. Go just for transportation.
Into a lockbox?
Into a lockbox. Yeah, nobody trusts the politicians. Yeah. Do you? So, yeah. And how do you make a lockbox pick-proof? Okay, I don't know, but it's going to transportation. And hopefully I get a little funding out of Washington, D.C., some of that 80-20 funding, and pretty soon we can get our rail sped up, more frequent rail service, better public transit. And by the way, Jim, it also gets those big tractor-trailers off the road at rush hour, off the road at prime time, makes it easier for us to get around and easier for employees to get to work and customers to get to the office.
Do you see a statewide property tax or some sort of statewide revenue enhancement coming?
I don't. I do not see a statewide property tax. But I'll be clear. I have said one thing. I have said that when it comes to the car tax, I see doing that on a statewide. I'm sorry that you and I are here in Greenwich, but it's just unconscionable to me that, a Buick in Greenwich costs 1/5 as much to pay property tax on as that Buick in New Haven and Bridgeport. So my plan would represent a significant property tax cut for probably 80% of our car owners in the state.
All right. Obviously, you're very focused on getting growth up and being pro-business. A lot of people say $15 minimum wage might actually hurt jobs, hurt small business. You were a small business that you built up. What are your thoughts on that wage rate?
Well, thank you for mentioning that. I would be the first governor in generations who actually started a business and created jobs. Here in a state that's not doing very well there. So I'm going to focus like a laser beam on what it takes to create jobs, job training, transportation, fix the budget. And like the fiscal commission here in the state, led by business leaders, I do think we move gradually to a $15 minimum wage. I think why do the taxpayers of Connecticut have to subsidize folks that don't pay that decent wage? Maybe for the tips economy and other places we'll have some exemptions, but I think over time that's the right thing to do.
All right, we're going to finish up now. There's a little piece of a comment that was filmed of you that is in Stefanowski ads where you're saying, I'm going to ask a little of people in the state. But isn't that the American way? Isn't that the way we were brought up? We're a state in a dire crisis. Shouldn't we be asking people to consider, participating, giving, whatever it takes?
I think that's exactly right, Jim. Look, I can say we're going to take it all out of the hides of the state employees, or I'm going to cut, kids who need mental health, or I can take it out of education. And we're all going to have to trim our belts a little bit to get through this thing. And I've got to show people that what I'm going to do is real, it's structural, but it's fair. And if I can convince people that we're all doing that, we're going to get this budget turned around. And that was Malloy's great failure. He didn't do that in the first year. I got to do that in the first year when I have a little bit of wind in my back. If people give me a vote, give me enough credibility so I can work with the Republicans and Democrats up there, we'll get it done.
All right. Well, the future of the state is certainly at stake. We've been talking with Ned Lamont, the Democratic candidate for governor of the state of Connecticut. In studio, Ned, thanks for coming in.
Well, it's good to see you, Jim.